I haven't, I wasn't gonna shock him yet.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
The last meeting,
I'd kind of like to have an idea
Sure.
of what we're doing.
the last meeting, I told them an estimate the engineers had given us from a December 13th meeting. And that was a wrap, it has to be the engineer's estimate, so not, they're just throwing figures, but it's about $35,000. Since then, at our last.
Our share.
Your
35.
share is 35, about 20% of the entire project of the paving. And we're 80% of the city. At our last board meeting, the engineers came back with a revised estimate to put your portion, again, I'm speculating, probably in the $50,000 range. They jumped it up for everybody. But they also added that most of their bids are coming in, when they take them out for bids, they're coming in at least 25% under, and he even mentioned a couple that were 40% under. So ideally, in an ideal world, you're back down to 35 or pretty close. It's hard to, as I told you, it's hard to put a figure on it until you get the actual bid in, and we expect that in the next month or so here, we start the bid process. Until then, we're all grasping, and believe me, that city's 80% of that 20%, so it factors to us too. But again, we're talking about J Street and Legends Lane.
Yeah, I know where it was, but I didn't know what the dollar figures, haven't heard that, so.
They've already started digging holes over there.
So somewhere in the $30,000 to $50,000.
I hope.
It's still a good community project.
Certainly.
My hope is the school will still feel like it's good for the district and the community. So.
Well, there's a lot of benefits, I think, to getting that road paved for everybody, not just the residents on one side, but the entire property on the other side you guys own.
And we may eventually have to do more. Everybody needs to be aware of that
That's the other
too.
thing, I mean, it may come up around.
And we talked about, that's when I'll scream.
Well,
That's a long road.
and that just, who knows what could develop on that stretch back there. It could be a year, it could be 2, it could be 5. I mean, there's something developed, certainly it'll push us to have to pave it.
Any other comments?
Thank you for asking the question.
Thank you for letting us know on the cost. If not, roll call.
Oshner, yes. Jacobson? Kleinschmidt?
Yes.
Budway?
Yes.
Nunn?
Yes.
Chokow? Fillmore absent. Donovan?
Yes.
Foley?
Yes. Okay. That is our action item. We are now into our discussion items, and which could go into the May executive, we could go into executive sessions in May on this. We'll start off with A, with the handbooks, high school, middle school, and then we'll go into the elementary school.
Go ahead, Jim.
Okay. There are several changes to our handbook. A lot of those changes have to do with staffing or suggestions by our attorneys. Page 38, the chickenpox vaccine, that's just a change in how it is.
They don't have page numbers, Jim. They just have the changes here.
What's that?
They don't have a page number or anything, I don't think.
Yeah, they do, they should on this copy right here. The use of cell phones during the noon hour for kids to go ahead and call their parents, text message. Page 42 on the expulsion, that was added by recommendation of our school attorney. And the bottom two things, the adding the laptop signature pages, literally take over the user agreement that we had in place in the past. So, do you have any particular questions about any of the changes?
So like if you're going on a family trip, you should make up your work ahead of time, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Plan ahead if you're planning on vacation, yeah.
A lot of it's just cleaning things up.
So if we, next month, we'll talk about this more in detail.
This is the month you talk about it, because next month it'll be up for adoption, and it's a part of board policy once it's adopted,
Okay.
so,
I just want to make sure I'm clear on.
yep, this is the night that Jim is proposing these changes, and if there's something there the board can't support, then that's the ones you need to talk about, I think, so. because it does become a part of board policy once it's adopted.
Do we have any comments?
I think they sound good.
Okay. Move on to, who's next, middle school? Yes, Mr. Klein, Mr. Klein.
Just have a small number of changes. It's okay. I'll just address them one at a time and see if you have questions on that particular one, and then go on to the next one here. Change number one, that is just editing there to make sure that the revised mission statement is accurate in the handbook. And then also, there is a set of beliefs, which the board approved a number of years ago. I wanted to put that in with the mission statement. Those belief statements are not, they just weren't in there before, and so I just wanted to put them in there with the mission statement. So the mission statement is being changed to reflect the current mission statement, and the beliefs are being added. And that will continue to be on the first page or two in the handbook. Do you have any questions on that proposal? Change number two, there is a section in the handbook. This particular section is on page 10 in our discipline section, which talks about the various forms of disciplinary action that may be taken. This particular section is the suspension section, where students are suspended from school, either in school or out of school. This small paragraph would just be added to the existing text. The practice of, our current practice already is what's indicated here. It's just that I think it would be a little more helpful in terms of communicating to some parents at times. Really hasn't been a problem, and it's been in the activities handbook, but sometimes with middle school students or middle school parents, they don't always look at that very closely. And so I felt like if I had it in the suspension section of the middle school handbook, it would make it a little easier to communicate when students are suspended. Are there any questions on change number two?
Yeah, I guess I have a question. I think you addressed it, but I want to be real clear. It's when they're suspended from school?
It's when they're suspended from
Okay.
school.
It's not, okay. It's a suspension, something to do with, that happened during school time?
Yep.
And so they're not allowed to be on the premises
Yeah.
whatsoever? Is that different than what we've been doing, or?
No, that's,
You're just putting it into this book instead of your
that,
activity?
it's exactly what we've been doing.
Okay.
And not to say that kids aren't allowed on premises. Sometimes we make special arrangements for kids to come to the building after school's over to work with the teachers.
Right, but I mean, well, yeah,
Yeah.
would it be with activities or?
No, there's no change in practice here, Randy. It's just a matter of, it was not in the handbook before, and want to just be a little more upfront in the communication. Doesn't surprise people. Changes, these two changes go together. They appear in two different places. Change 3A and 3B, really the same change. One will take place around page 12, the other would be page 26. Both of these policies deal with drug use, alcohol drug regulations, and student drug-free policy. This, the text is already in the handbook. I've only added a couple of words here and there so that, like I explained in the rationale, or the suggested change, so that long-term suspension or expulsion are options that are readily available by the policy. And the school attorney suggested that we make these changes after an incident that maybe our language wasn't as clear as it should have been, and they recommended that we just reword it a little bit, so. Any questions on changes 3A or 3B? And change 4 just reflects the change in the chickenpox vaccination requirements. They now have to have 2. If they haven't had the chickenpox, they have to have 2 doses, and so that change there just reflects that.
And that's for all students for this coming year, K through 12, correct?
Regardless of grade or whether they've moved from out of state, et cetera, all students, so.
As I said, Department of Health has opened that up for free vaccines times. Hopefully we'll do it again here coming up before the school year again. I think that there's a lot of parents that didn't get in.
Any questions on? Thank you.
Number 1 is the mission statement change. Number 2 is a practice that's been happening at the middle school, providing supervision for those elementary students who ride the shuttle bus for Fairmont to that has been in place. I just I realized it wasn't in our handbook, so I'm going to add that. Number 3 is the chickenpox vaccine required 2 doses for all students. And 4, the dress code added the word pajamas. Number 5, search of the student's property, the underlined word, if there's a reasonable cause of search and disclose evidence in violation of the law, statute, or policy or school rule. Number 6, the short-term suspension. Again, that was from advice from the lawyer to add the word suspension there in number 1. And number 7, dismissal procedures. Deleted a few words there, tried to clean up that paragraph a little bit. Some underlined words there were deleted, and then there's some words in italics that were added. About after-school supervision.
Do lawyers look at things like on a regular basis, or?
No, there was a specific incident that
Oh,
was
okay.
that's why.
They do, if we have a concern, we'll send it to them.
Okay. So would you say that all handbooks have been looked at least once?
More than once.
Okay.
Our whole activity handbook was done last year, and I would say all of our handbooks have been looked at numerous times.
Yes, sir. Any questions, folks? Okay. Now we'll move on to discussion item B, summer work plan.
Well, just to highlight the major things, is if you remember in the fall, and I think we have a new building and grounds committee than what we had last fall, but we were repairing, resurfacing, and repainting the track at the high school. They were gonna try to get that done in October, November, and they didn't. Danny talked to them, and they're gonna come, I think, at the end of April, or try to get it before our track meet if it doesn't impede Nancy and the practice schedule that she has set up. Otherwise, they'll probably do it in June after track. But they can work it in. They're going to try to do it before we will start track meet. So,
Is that going to raise our prices on that at all, or are we staying the same since?
no, it's the same price as what they bid it last year. They need 4 days, I think, is what they need to do the work. So. We also.
Did you ever find out why they didn't do it when weren't they supposed
Well,
to?
they were gonna get to us if the weather didn't get cold. We were like 4th on the list, and then they don't like to do it if it gets too cold, and it
Well, I
just got too
understand that.
cold
I
too
just-
fast, so,
Well, I just thought this was something supposed to be done last year.
yeah.
I didn't know if they were giving you a reason as to
We
why.
didn't agree to it till the October board meeting, so then that left not a whole lot of time for them to finish it, so. We also, we're gonna repair and resurface the blacktop at both the north side of the middle school and the playground at the elementary. That was also from the building and grounds, but we were gonna wait and do it this summer. And we'll just bid it as one project, and we'll advertise and bid it, so we'll get bids on both those situations. We're working on, we're getting some help on trying to write an actual bid proposal, because I'm not sure how to do it for a blacktop. That was something that either Dave Beagle or Bob Webb gave us help on, and I don't know who to use to do that right now, so.
Will they do it from